feel that sense of frustration and anger. For the past year, our subcommittee, the Permanent Subcommittee on Investigation, has been investigating how 5 of the most prominent airlines have used these fees to change the way Americans travel. American, Delta, and United are together responsible for a majority of all domestic air travel. I think it's about 60%. With Southwest, that figure is close to 70%. And Frontier and Spirit, while smaller, have pioneered new methods of charging their customers. Some of their latest practices, like targeting individual passengers with pricing algorithms, are likely spreading to other airlines, which is the pattern in the industry. The smaller airlines experiment with a new tactic, and it's then mimicked or adopted by the larger ones. Our investigation found that in 2023 alone, American, Delta, United, Frontier, and Spirit collected more than $3 billion in seat fees, only seat fees. That's not airfare. That's just fees for booking a specific seat in advance or selecting a slightly better seat. And that's an increase of 50% from 2018, just 6 years ago. In fact, we found that over the past 6 years, the 5 airlines we investigated made more than $12.4 million from the many seat fees that they charge. Now, I know there are going to be claims in your testimony of rising costs, but we found that for checked bags, the fees are unconnected to any costs in transporting them. And it's obvious that assigning paid seats is pure profit. You don't have to create new seats on a specific flight when you charge more. We obtained internal documents showing that Frontier paid $10 to its gate agents every time you identify or they identify a passenger whose free personal item is large enough to qualify as a carry-on bag, requiring a fee up to $99. In other words, a bounty bag program, $10, an incentive payment, so that the consumer would pay up to $99 to carry on a bag. I call it a bounty bag program, and Spirit has one too. When we asked Frontier about this program, they accuse customers who don't pay for carry-on bags of, quote, stealing from the airline. It's not surprising, given that Frontier has estimated this program would generate $40 million in extra revenue in just its first year. This hostile view of their customers certainly leaves no doubt why complaints are surging. Our investigation also found that airlines benefit by making information about the fees they charge obscure and confusing. One airline even admitted in our investigation that they hide seat fees from customers until late in the booking process, because doing so leads to more customers completing their purchase. Keeping this information hidden from customers is working out very well for the airlines, not so much the customers. Last year, seat fees accounted for $1.3 billion in revenue for United, even more than the $1.2 billion they earned from charging for bags. Travelers are quite simply fed up with hidden sky-high fees, and they are right to worry about the future. Our investigation found that airlines are exploring new ways to charge customized fees to each passenger using algorithms and maybe even AI. This type of consumer-specific pricing will make it much easier for airlines to discriminate against particular passengers and to raise fares and fees for those airlines that the consumers are suspected to be able to pay more. Once again, the airlines are racing to put profits above all else. Let me conclude by talking a little bit about what has to be done. First of all, more must be done to address the rising costs of air travel and to empower passengers, beginning with greater transparency. The billions of dollars that airlines make in seat fees and other unreported fees must be disclosed to the public. The Department of Transportation must swiftly implement Congress's mandate that parents be allowed to sit next to their children without extra fees attached. There's no excuse for additional delay. It ought to be done by the end of this year. We have to pass legislation including the Airline Passenger Bill of Rights and the Fair Fees Act, which the airline industry has spent millions to lobby against. And on the issue of transparency, I want to know from these witnesses why they are in court blocking a bill that was passed by Congress, a law that we approved that requires greater transparency. The Fifth Circuit United States Court has blocked implementation because of that lawsuit brought by your airline companies. If you're in favor of transparency, why go to court blocking a transparency law? It makes no sense. And I hope that our witnesses will address those efforts and, in fact, commit to lift the lawsuit's injunction. We also have to continue to investigate the deceptive and potentially illegal conduct that our investigation has revealed, and I hope that we'll have a prompt response from the Secretaries of Treasury and Transportation to my request for investigation. Finally, at the root of the problem is a lack of competition. I've opposed some of these consolidations, the acquisitions and mergers that have occurred. Airlines charge these fees because they can. Consolidation has enabled 4 airlines to control nearly 70% of the market. Major carriers march in lockstep on these fees. And we need a review of whether something has to be done to provide for more competition among airlines in this industry. So thank you to the witnesses for being here today. Frankly, I hope that your responses to our questions will be comprehensive and forthright, because each of your airlines, unfortunately, engaged in some measure of stonewalling our investigation. And I hope that you understand the public deserves answers, and I hope that you will provide them. Thank you, and I'll turn to Senator Marshall.
Well, thank you, Chairman Blumenthal. I appreciate you holding this hearing and, once again, your efforts to protect hardworking Americans.